Howdy folks, if you've been following along, and I hope you have, then you'll know I recently tried Alambique Serrano. And that inspired me to try some other heavy-hitting, high-proof, unaged cane juice rum. So today, it is Clash of the Titans. Now, the question is, why these rums in particular? And the answer is, these are the rums that I had on hand that fit the bill. So I'm not reading too much into it, and neither should you. Now, of course, the inspiration for all this was Alambique Serrano, which is from Mexico and is pretty delicious. And it's 70% alcohol. And I thought, what else do I have that's very high proof and unaged rum? And I thought of Rivers Antoine from Grenada. Now it comes in at 69%, which is also bonkers. Now that reminded me of another rum I have from Grenada, which is Renegade. This Renegade rum is called Nursery. It is a single farm origin, unaged cane juice rum from Grenada, from the other distillery in Grenada, which is very fancy. Anyway, I'm not going to go into every one of these bottles in depth today. I have lots of videos on these bottles already, and I'm going to link to a playlist that has all the reviews, all the times I've talked about booze on this channel, which is kind of a lot. So you go through that whole playlist. You can learn anything you want from old Uncle Pete. Now, besides Alambique Serrano, I also have another rum from Mexico, from Oaxaca, in fact, and that is Paranubes. Now, it is only 54%. I say only, that's still pretty high. It is also unaged, also cane juice rum, so that seemed related. So that's 4 rums, but I thought, you know what, 5 will make a better video. So I pulled out this Clairin Sonson, which is technically not cane juice rum, it's cane syrup rum, where they reduce the cane juice a little bit to make a sort of a syrup and ferment that, but I'm not going to split hairs. It is 53.2%, which is also not astronomically high, but still pretty high. We're going to just taste these for fun. If you want to know more in depth about any of these rums, go check out the playlist. Let's get to it. I'm going to do these in proof order, I think, because drinking something like the super high proof one first that doesn't make sense to my face. Okay, so we're going to start with Renegade Nursery. I'm not even going to talk about colors because these are all obviously perfectly clear. It's only 50% in the lowest proof today, but it's a little hot on the nose still. It's got a little bit of that sort of industrial rubber kind of smell. Not as much as some that I've had, but definitely a little bit of that. Savory, a little bit briny, but not as much as some that I think that are still coming. A little bit of like a sort of vanilla butterscotch kind of flavor, which is a little odd. But yeah, more of that sort of rubbery Band-Aid kind of flavor. It's actually pretty interesting. A little hot, maybe. A little hotter than 50% would have led you to believe, I think. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Pretty interesting. As we know, Renegade, the distillery just got sold. So we don't know what that holds for the future. It also, this is difficult for me to get here in Oregon, so I don't know if I'm going to buy a ton more of this Renegade, but it's pretty interesting for now. Let's move on. Clairin Sonson. There's a few different Sonsons. They're named after the distillery they come from. These are all very small producers in Haiti. This one's got a really strong mustard aroma, which is really something you don't expect when you put your nose into a glass of rum. But yeah, a little bit of that sort of rubber plastic aroma, but really overwhelmingly mustard. Man, those are so interesting and delicious. Again, savory, a little bit mustardy, a little bit briny. Yeah, like not sweet at all. And this one's higher proof, 53.2 versus 50 of the Renegade, but less hot, less burning, you know. Just, oh man, those are so fun. So fun. There's a few different Clairins out there in the world, and they're all pretty different. And like, you should get some if you get the chance. Man, mustard, that's so weird. Okay, we're moving over to Mexico now. Paranubes, 54%. This is a pretty popular bottle. It's widely available in the US, at least, I believe. And, you know, it's pretty weird. It's pretty strong. It's pretty bold. It's a real titan, you know, as they say. And yeah, just a lot of like savory brine, like pickle brine or like a fishy brine. None of that mustard. I remember when I first smelled Paranubes, it was overwhelming. I couldn't believe my nose. But after tasting sort of more of the world of rums, it's not as weird as I remember. But a very interesting briny savoriness. Let's give it a taste. Like savory, like a savory, like a meat almost, like a cooked meat, like an iodine, almost like a little hot again. Almost like Lafroig in a weird way. It's got something rhymes with Lafroig. It's like the sort of iodine-y, briny savoriness. And like a little hint of vanilla to it too at the end. Paranubes is wild and it works great in a cocktail. It really punches up the flavor. If you have sort of a dull cocktail, a little Paranubes, that'll spice that thing up. Now we're heading into the very high proof territory. This is Rivers Antoine. It is 69%. This is made in a still in Grenada that is just, you can see pictures of it online. It's just the most primitive looking place. There's a water wheel that runs the whole thing. It's wood fired. The equipment's been there for hundreds of years. It's dilapidated. There's barely a roof on the place. It's wild. And the reason it's 69% is this is what they sell to the tourists, because the stuff that they sell locally is more like 75%, but you can't take anything over 70% on an airplane, so they make the 69% so that people can take it on a plane and take it home with them. So this is the tourist grade, which is great. Immediately, like, not as savory, not that same sort of, mustardy, savory meat iodine vibe, but more of like a creamy vanilla sort of thing. And again, this is 69%, but it is not nearly as like the aroma isn't nearly as impactful on your sinuses. It doesn't smell nearly as hot. It does taste a little hot, but it's got this creamy cream soda kind of flavor to it. A little bit of that sort of plastic beach ball kind of Band-Aid note, a little bit at the end. But it's just so enjoyable. For 69%, it's wild to me that it's 69%, but it's so clean, I don't know how they achieve that under the conditions they're making it in, but it's so impressive. And by the way, these are nothing like Jamaican rums. Like, if you're thinking of like a high ester Jamaican, Rain Nephew or something, these are not like that. These aren't funky in that way. They don't have those fruit flavors. They have other flavors. They have this sort of antiseptic flavor, but also this sort of, this creamy vanilla flavor, a certain mineral quality to them. Very, very cool. It's amazing. The rum world is amazing, okay? It's amazing. Let's wrap this up with Alambique Serrano. All right, last but not least, Alambique Serrano, 70.3%. That is quite high. Yeah, so Alambique Serrano, I just talked about this a couple weeks ago, but it's basically made at a very, very tiny place in Oaxaca with a custom-built still it's sort of a column still hybrid, sort of weird still, made from locally grown sugar cane with wild fermentation. It's pretty wild. So the last one, it was like vanilla and a little minerality. This has a lot more minerality and a little less vanilla. But again, 70%, it doesn't really overwhelm you as much as even like the 50% Renegade. It was more like hot in your face. And this is like a lot easier to smell. It's weird. Let's give it a taste. It's drying. It doesn't taste sweet. Like some of them have this sort of cream soda sweetness, creaminess to it. This is like dry minerals. Like it's got this sort of sandiness to it. It's savory, but not in like a meaty iodine, briny way, but like in a dry, salty way. So good. It weirdly does remind me of some mezcals that have that same mineral sort of vegetal kind of note to it. That's what this has. And yeah, 70%, but pretty drinkable. It's wild. A lot of these Jamaicans that I get that are, 60%, 62%, they're hard to drink. They're too much. But like either 70% Oaxacan rum, yeah, it's not really an issue. So I don't know. These are fun rums. Clash of the Titans. Who wins? There's no winners. We're all winners when we're drinking rum, all right? That's what I want you to keep in mind. All right, I guess in conclusion, I'm going to say there's lots of different rums from lots of different places, and a lot of them are amazing. This is just a sort of weird subset of rums that you can try, and I think that's part of the fun. It's just sort of comparing two things that start with a similar raw ingredient, and they're quite different. So I don't know. Rum is interesting and fun and amazing, and I really enjoy it. And I hope you enjoy it too. And if you have any questions or something you want me to try, put it down in the comments. And in the meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.